for joining. I really appreciate it. It's 2:56 p.m. Pacific time. It's October 8th, 2025. Let's begin. The death of the left. Sir Keir Starmer has drawn the battle lines for the next general election between Labour and Nigel Farage's Reform UK. In France, Emmanuel Macron is on the verge of calling a second snap election to deal with the challenge of Marine Le Pen's hard right national rally. In much of Europe, the fight between left and right has already been won by the Conservatives. Sir Keir's landslide victory last year was an outlier on a continent where the number of center-left leaders shrank to a rump as voters turned en masse to the right. The highest profile casualty was Germany's Olaf Scholz in February, whose socialist SPD suffered its worst defeat in a federal election in more than a century. He was replaced by the center-right Friedrich Merz after a vote in which the far-right AfD came second, doubling its vote share and becoming the main opposition for the first time. Last year, Mr. Macron called snap elections in France after Arne triumphed in the European Parliament elections. The gamble, effectively a dare to French voters to put the untested Arne into government, backfired. Arne became the largest single party and was only stopped from seizing control of the government by a broad coalition of left-wing parties. Support for left-wing parties in Europe in 2024 was the lowest it has been since the end of the Cold War, with an average vote share at 34.6%. Meanwhile, the average vote share obtained by right-wing parties in 2020 stood at 51.04% in 2024, second only to 51.38% in 2022. Elections this year in Germany, Albania, Portugal, Norway brought the average up slightly to 51%. It also brought down the left-wing vote share to 33.8%. Bolstered by the return of Donald Trump to the White House, the right in Europe has rarely been stronger. Labour's success was also short-lived. Reform UK passed Sir Keir's party in the polls for the first time in February 2025. It reached 31.2% on September 15, while Labour has plummeted to a new low of 20.4%. Those numbers convinced Sir Keir that now wasn't the time to go on the attack at a week in which he berated reforms, migrant policy, racist, and immoral. Macron cries in France centrist. Mr. Macron is running out of dice to roll. On Monday, the shock resignation of Sébastien Lecornu, his prime minister, was announced after he had spent only 27 days in office and less than 24 hours after he had named his new government. Since the French president's historic decision to call snap elections last summer, three Macron-backed minority governments have fallen, and the fourth now seems certain to follow unless crisis talks can save the situation by Wednesday evening. If the government cannot be saved, Mr. Macron is expected to dissolve Parliament again before a vote in which Arne is predicted to win but fall short of a majority. Mr. Macron cannot contest the presidential elections that are looming in 2027, but he will be desperate to prevent the Arne from winning the keys to the galaxy. He may even name Jordan Bardella, the Arne president, as his prime minister to demonstrate how unfit they are for the most powerful role in French politics. I'm calling on him to dissolve the National Assembly. We are at the end of the road, Ms. Le Pen said on Monday. The joke is over. The farce has gone on long enough. For rationally fighting institutions, Emmanuel Macron is putting the country in a terribly complicated situation. We are ready to burn Mr. Bardella said he joined calls for Mr. Macron to call for a new parliamentary election. The RN is ahead in the polls with 33 to 34% of the vote in a legislative election, while Macron's party is trading in third. Scandal hit Sanchez. In Spain, scandal hit Pedro Sanchez, now the most influential socialist leader in the EU. He is on the roof but is fighting back. The Spanish Socialist Party has been dogged by accusations of cronyism and corruption. Mr. Sanchez has tried to electrify his base with his attacks on the genocide state of Israel, raising expectations he plans a snap election. It's a risky strategy for a man who lost the popular vote at the last election in 2023, which the center-right Partido Popular won a fell short of a majority. Mr. Sanchez stayed in power after cobbling together a broad coalition of leftists, independistas, and former terrorist sympathizers. The PP is currently ahead in the polls with 34%, while the far-right Vox is at 16%, with for both parties to overperform slightly. A conservative coalition would be possible. In neighboring Portugal, conservatives ended the socialist 8 years in last year. Center-right dominant at the EU, 13 of 27 members of the bloc are led by prime ministers from the center-right. European People's Party, EPP, which won last year's EU's parliament elections. They include Mr. Merz, Donald Tusk, the Polish Prime Minister, and leaders of Portugal, Greece, Sweden, Finland, Croatia, and Austria. That matters in Brussels, where EU heads of state and government meet for regular and influential European Council summits to set the bloc's political direction. Other right-wing leaders come from different pan-European parties. The soft Eurosceptic European conservatives and reformists can boast Italy's Giorgia Meloni and Bart de Wever, the Belgian Prime Minister, among its leaders. Hungary Viktor Orban is the sole representative of the hard right patriots, although its members, including the AFD, have enjoyed electoral success. In the Netherlands, where anti-migrant protests erupted last month, Geert Wilders, the anti-Islam fire ban, is high in the polls ahead of elections this month after his surprise victory in late 2023. Shrinking band of socialists, the Pan-EU Socialists and Democrats (PES) group has only Mr. Sanchez and the leaders of Lithuania, Malta, and Denmark in the European Council. Denmark's Mette Frederiksen is a special case, having seen of a surge in support for the right by introducing some of the toughest rules on migration in Europe. Robert Fico, Slovakia's left-wing national prime minister, is being thrown out of PES because of his pro-populism. PES does have some non-EU leaders in its ranks, including Sir Keir and the prime ministers of Kosovo, Albania, and Bosnia and Herzegovina. But it begs the question why so many Europeans have turned against the traditional big beast of the left, who could once command huge vote shares. PES Secretary Giacomo Filibeck, it was a time of fragmentation and rising extremism. We acknowledge that European social democracy is going through a challenging political cycle, but the base of our strength is still there, he said. There was great potential for the left in elections in the Netherlands at the end of October and Sweden next year. Both countries are being governed by conservative coalitions. Yet where we could not form governments as in Sweden, Finland, or the Netherlands, it was because conservatives and liberals chose to ally with the far right, a path we firmly reject. Loss of the working class. Traditional working class voters have turned to the right after becoming alienated from increasingly metropolitan center-left elites. Younger voters have been tempted away by the more radical hard left or Greens. The left has struggled to tell a compelling 21st century story, said Margaritas Sines, a former European Commissioner. EPP member, it risks being caught between two fronts. To the right, Conservative Party that can combine market economics with gestures towards social compassion and national pride. To the far right, populists who marry cultural protectionism with an anti-elite rhetoric. By contrast, social democratic parties can appear uninspiring or managerial advocates of competent governance, not always successfully rather than transformative politics. Many younger voters cared about climate change or identity issues but did not identify with a traditional trade unionist or statist vocabulary of the left. Older working class voters, meanwhile, have drifted rightward in response to cultural anxieties. That leaves left's base thinner, harder to mobilize, and split across multiple priorities, Mr. Sines. Paul Circa, a senior policy fellow at the European Council on Foreign Relations think tank, said, "The working class has often abandoned the center left and many prefer to vote for far right parties today." Center left parties were seen as complicit in the 1990s globalization that shifted the overseas and exacerbated fears over migration, he said. Their focus on cultural issues like gay rights were important for minorities but alienated traditional voters. Mr. Circus said the left's trademark has been tarnished. Some voters have moved to the more radical hard left and Greens, who were seen as more authentic, he said. It is not all bad news for Sir Keir, as he seeks to stay in the shrinking club of center-left European leaders. Norway's Jonas trend with a narrow victory to form another Labour-led minority government after elections last month. But the Norwegian vote also brought record results for the far right-wing party and its leader, Sylvie Listhaug, who has been nicknamed the Farage of the Fjords. The right wing increased its vote share to 42.7%, just a whisker behind the 57% taken by the left. Again, thank you for joining. Appreciate it. Smash that like button, comment down below, let me know what you think. Subscribe to the channel. Again, follow me on Instagram, the Studio 11. Follow me on X, the Studio 2020. I like to say Twitter. Follow me on Twitter. Thank you for joining, and I'll see you in the next one.